On today's show, comedy legend Brent Butt.
The Oppenheimer-Prager Museum at Dayspring.
And community milestones and celebrations.
From your hometown local station, this is Good Day from the Bay with Vicki, Hogarth, and Jonathan Brittain.
Good Day from the Bay. I'm Jonathan Brittain.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. We are very excited about today's show because our main guest is Canadian comedy legend Brent Butt.
That's right. The creator of Corner Gas video chatted with us from his home in Vancouver ahead of his trip to St. Andrews for Comedy Fest at the KIRA Amphitheatre in September.
That's right. Brent has a way of taking small-town Canadian life and turning it into comedy gold. He's quick-witted, sharp, and honestly, it is no wonder so many of us Canadians think of him as, well, the butt of jokes.
Are we doing puns now? Low form of comedy, Vicki. Brent might not approve. That said, he's going to feel right at home on the East Coast because if anyone understands small town Canada, it's Brent Butt.
That's true. But before we get to our conversation with Brent, we took a tour through one of the most unique treasures right here in St. Andrews, the Oppenheimer-Prager Museum at Dayspring.
It's a story of art, architecture, and Lady Beaverbrook's flair for the extraordinary.
You had me on the edge of my seat even though I was there. See for yourself. In the heart of St. Andrews stands the Oppenheimer-Prager Museum at Dayspring, the largest home in town owned by Vincent Prager, an architectural marvel that feels like a set from a Wes Anderson film. But behind its walls is a story that ties together art, family, and one of New Brunswick's most legendary figures, Lady Beaverbrook.
Hi, I'm Vincent Prager. Welcome to the Oppenheimer-Prager Museum at Dayspring. Why don't you come in and let me show you around?
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. What Vincent never expected was that the house he bought would eventually become a museum, one dedicated not only to Lady Beaverbrook's legacy, but to the art of his own family.
We're in the great room of Dayspring, which is, I believe, the largest house in St. Andrews. It's 14,500 square feet, 144 feet from one end to the other. And the house was built in 1928 by a guy called Louis Edgerton Smoot. And he spent summers up here until 1947. And then he sold the property in 1947 to Algoma Steel, which was a company run by Sir James Dunn. And then Algoma gave the house to Dunn. And Dunn's third wife was a Greek-British lady called Marcia Christophorides, and she then lived here with Dunn. This was their principal residence. They traveled all over the place, and they had an apartment at the Waldorf Towers in New York, but this was their main home. And they lived here until Dunn died, January 1st, 1956. He died actually in this house, and his bedroom was down at the other end. She stayed on in the house. The only thing that she inherited from Dunn actually was the house.
Lady Beaverbrook lived here through decades of change, winters in Canada, summers in England, and always surrounded by her beloved chihuahuas.
She had more than 8, I think. I don't know exactly how many, but she always had masses of them. And one time, apparently, the rumor is that she chartered an Air Canada DC-8 to fly from London, and she had the whole plane to herself, just for herself and the dogs.
While the house itself tells the story of Lady Beaverbrook's larger-than-life presence, the museum's heart lies in the art on its walls. Here, Vincent has brought together the works of his grandfather, Joseph Oppenheimer, and his mother, Eva Prager.
Joseph Oppenheimer was one of the founders of the German Impressionist school, the Berlin Secession, it's called. And my mother was his daughter. Famous painter also, and officer of the Order of Canada.
Joseph Oppenheimer's Impressionist paintings were sought after across Europe. Eva Prager carried forward his influence, studying in Paris under Marc Chagall and developing a style full of color and light.
Among the most captivating works here, sketches of Albert Einstein.
My grandfather was asked to do a painting of Einstein, and this is a photograph of that picture, which is lost somewhere. We don't quite know where it is, but Anyway, the Einsteins and my grandparents became friendly, and the Einsteins invited my grandparents for tea. That must have been about, well, 31 or 32. And my grandparents, being my grandparents, asked if they could bring their 2 kids along with them. And they said yes. And so my mother and her brother went along, and the Einsteins had a house in a beautiful park outside of Berlin. And they had to walk through the park to get to the house. And the house immediately before the Einsteins' house was the house that my father's father had. And my father and his 2 brothers were playing chamber music on the balcony when the Oppenheimers walked by, and my mother looked up and saw my father, and that was the first time that they saw each other.
Oh, wow.
And that evening, my mother went to the movies in that area where I guess where they were staying, and saw my father again. And that evening, apparently, he told his father that that was the girl he was going to marry.
Wow.
So no Einstein, no Vincent.
Wow.
And we have here, there's an actual letter that Einstein wrote to my grandfather after my mom passed away, and we were tidying up her basement, and there was an old cigar box full of champagne corks, and I was about to throw it out, and then I saw there was an envelope at the bottom of the box, and so I pulled it out, and that's the letter that was in there. So always be careful before you throw things away.
Every room at Dayspring tells a story of Lady Beaverbrook, of Sir James Dunn, Pierre Trudeau, even moments from the October crisis.
The Oppenheimer-Prager Museum at Dayspring is more than a collection. It's art, history, architecture, and the lingering spirit of Lady Beaverbrook, all under one roof. For visitors to St. Andrews, it's an experience you won't find anywhere else in the world.
That museum really is one of a kind.
It is. And so is our next guest. Stick around, because right after the break, we'll be back with Brent Butt.
Welcome back to Good Day from the Bay. Before the break, we promised you comedy greatness, and we are delivering.
If you think Maritimers have cornered the market on small-town humor, wait until you hear from our next guest.
That's true, that's true. Exactly. Brent Butt has a way of taking the tiniest small-town moment, like running into your neighbor at the corner store, and turning it into a national comedy.
Which means when he gets here for Comedy Fest in St. Andrews, the East Coast might actually give him too much material.
I would think so, especially after he meets you, Jonathan. We sat down with Brent from his home in Vancouver to talk about his quick wit, small town Canada, and why he feels right at home here in New Brunswick.
Here's our conversation with Brent Butt. Thanks so much for being here with us. We're so excited to talk to you. Before we get into, the more what's coming up, we wanted to take a step back and ask, do you remember the first time you were paid to do comedy, and what was that experience like?
I'm still looking forward to that day. It's been 37 years now, and I think I'm due. No, I do remember, actually. I got paid the grand sum of $10 to drive John Wing Jr. from Saskatoon to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and do a half-hour opening for him at Digger's Comedy Club. Or it wasn't comedy, it was Digger's, like Roadhouse, Digger's Pub, but they had a night that was comedy. And so I got paid $10 to drive him from Saskatoon to Prince Albert, do a half hour, and drive him back. $10.
$10. Probably didn't cover your gas, I'm guessing.
No, I barely lost any money on that gig. It was terrific.
I feel like we'll pool our money here together at St. Andrews for the KIRA Amphitheatre show. We could do this. We could do better. Was he one of your comedy heroes growing up? Who did you look up to in terms of your idols, comedy-wise?
I wouldn't say John Wing Jr. is one of my comedy heroes or idols, but I was very excited because I knew who he was, and he had been on the Tonight Show, and he was a Canadian who was sort of making it as a comedian, and I was a fan, and I had seen him on, I think, the Alan Hamill Show or the Alan Thicke Show. So yeah, I was very excited. It made it all seem possible. Here I am working with a guy that I've seen on TV, and we since became good friends. We actually became friends that night, and have stayed in touch, and we still talk to this day.
Wow.
Fantastic. many people, of course, know you from Corner Gas. And how did your own life inspire the creation of that show?
Well, I did grow up in small town Saskatchewan, not as my hometown, Tisdale, Saskatchewan, is not as small as Dog River. My hometown was of about 3,000 people, but all around Tisdale, there were these other tiny communities, about 300, 400, 500 people, Crooked River, Elderslie, Sylvania. And I knew people, and a couple of my high school girlfriends were from small towns around there. So you'd spend time out there, and I just knew that sort of situation well. And also growing up, I would just hang out relentlessly at the coffee shop and do nothing but go for coffee with my buddies. So it was really, they say, write what you know, and it was really coming from that sort of experience.
What do you think in your own life, taking the small town experiences, also the Canadian experiences, how did you make those things so universally appealing? That Corner Gas, I mean, when I lived in a big city, I would still watch it, and it speaks to people outside of Canada as well.
Yeah, we had fan mail from a guy in Sweden said this is exactly like his village, and we had a guy from Manhattan say this is exactly like my neighborhood. I know all these people. So there is a universality to it, partly because the characters really were, created initially to be sort of archetypal characters. People can relate. Everybody knows a cranky old guy. Everybody has a dopey buddy. You sort of know all these people. And then we hired these amazing actors who came in and breathed specific, unique life into each of these characters and made them seem so real. So it was a real sort of team effort. But from a creation standpoint, it was just, I sort of felt like the key to doing a successful Canadian show was to not hammer the Canadiana down the viewer's throat and not hide that it was Canadian. Have it just happen to be Canadian. Your money that you saw would be Canadian, license plates would be Canadian, references would be Canadian, but the stories, for the most part, were sort of universal, small stories. Interpersonal conflicts between coworkers, or somebody trying to sell something to somebody else and feeling ripped off, things that people anywhere could relate to, but it just happened to be Canadian, because I felt growing up too often, in order to make a Canadian show, it had to be like, it was about a moose who wanted to play in the NHL, but his dad wanted him to run the canoe factory. And you're like, ugh, it's too much. Can't we just let it be? It takes place in Canada. It stars Canadians. It's written by Canadians. There, it's Canadian.
I know. I used to find the worst when a Toronto streetcar would pass, and then you'd see a New York license plate. They were trying to make it look American. You're like,
Yeah.
when
I did a movie that we shot in Vancouver called No Clue. It was kind of a detective story, and the crew said on our first day of shooting, they said, "What city is Vancouver supposed to be?" And I said, Vancouver, we're playing Vancouver. And they were so thrilled because they never get to do that. It's always Seattle or San Francisco or something. And so the fact that, Canadians can tell Canadian stories, I feel is sort of important.
Well, yeah, and thank you for being one who has done it over the years.
Absolutely. Has your stand-up evolved over the years, and what kind of material can our audience in St. Andrews expect to hear?
It has not evolved at all. It's all about Pac-Man. I do an hour of Pac-Man and leg warmer jokes, because I started in the 80s, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, No, I mean, I think stylistically, aside from being, I think I've gotten better over the years, but pretty much stylistically, I think I'm the same. I'm just very sort of conversational. I don't really do jokes. It's not really like set up punchline kind of jokes. Very conversational. I like to play with the language. That's where I have fun. And I think any performer, if they're enjoying themselves, the odds of the audience enjoying themselves is going to greatly increase. And so I felt early on that I need to be having fun up there too. And for me, the fun part about comedy is playing with the language and just being conversational and finding, unique angles and unique phrases.
I would believe you about the Pac-Man being your main material, except there is an amazing Spider-Man arcade game right behind you on a foosball table. So I'm starting to think there might be some truth to it.
I saw this game for sale at a pinball store in Vancouver. It was this same game, 1980 Gottlieb Spider-Man game, was in my hometown in the bus depot in my hometown. I used to play it as a kid. So when I saw this, I was like, yes, please.
What is it like, though, as a comedian when you are, you're going to be coming from Vancouver here to prepare for a crowd on the other side of the country in an outdoor amphitheater? So it's a different experience than a nightclub in a city. How do you prepare for that change?
You can't really do too much in advance. You get to the place, you see the space, you do. A big part of it is doing a sound check, seeing what it's like. Because sometimes when you're playing outdoors, you have to slow things down just because the energy of the audio goes up and away as opposed to bouncing around the room. And so it's just little things like that, sort of technical things that you can't really do too much about until you get there. And then it's one of the things I love about comedy is, every show really is different and every group of people is different. And you don't know what they're going to like. You don't always say it's a brand new animal. Every time you step on stage, that crowd has never been together before. This scenario hasn't happened before. It's a brand new animal. And the trick as a comedian is like, what do I have to do to let this animal allow me to rub its belly and not attack me and tear my throat out? That's the challenge every time. It's waiting in the wings, trying to figure out, listening to the comics that are on ahead of you, finding out, their rhythm, what they're doing. It makes it's intellectually challenging and a lot of fun.
Well, on that note, how do you find performing for small town audiences versus big city audiences?
I enjoy it. I do a lot of it. I think because of Corner Gas and because of my background, I probably get booked into places where a lot of comedians don't get booked. I do like a lot of like sort of town hall fundraisers in a town of 1,100 people, that kind of thing. And I can relate. I know that environment well. But at the end of the day, people are far more alike than they are different. And if you start focusing on the differences, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are where we are today politically, is there's certain factions have really pushed people to focus on the differences. They comb their hair on the left. They should be parting their hair on the right. And it's just that it's all they could do so that they can continue doing their backdoor shenanigans, right? So people are 99.9% the same. And if you focus on that versus focusing on the difference, you're off to the races and everybody has a great time.
And just to be difficult, I'm going to ask you about that 1% that makes us different in the East Coast of Canada. When you know you're coming out here, are there maritime stories that stand out for you from any times you've been touring the East Coast? What is it about East Coast people that you can draw some humor from in the hours before your show? I know that comedians often go around looking for some local material.
Well, but you do that, yeah. I mean, really anywhere. It can just be signage. It could be seeing a store with a weird name, or I remember seeing a sign that said "Bobo's used furniture and confectionery" one time. But that was in the prairies, though. But so you do a joke about that on stage. So each community, it's less about East and West. Although I've often said that the problem with performing comedy in the Maritimes is everybody in the crowd is funnier than you'll ever be. So it's more like going to a comedy workshop.
Interesting. So what type of things make you laugh?
I love being surprised. I love when somebody comes up with an angle or a phrase that I would never have come up with on my own. If you gave me 100 years and 10 bottles of whiskey, I never would have come up with that angle. That's what I like. Because one of the things as a comedian, if you do it long enough, you listen to other comedians and then you hear their setup, their premise, and you can you sort of know where it's going to go just through experience and just through creating jokes for that long, you start to understand the path. And then sometimes comedians will just hang a left and catch you on the chin. And that's what I love. I love being surprised. And I don't care if it's clean comedy. I don't care if it's filthy comedy. I just want to be surprised. I want it to be original. Give me a thought that I wouldn't have had on my own.
Is there a joke from your early career that still holds the test of time, that when you look back on it now, 37 years later, you're like, that's still a good joke? I would still tell it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't think I've really thrown out anything. Your act sort of evolves and becomes newer, but all the old jokes sit in the tickle trunk of your mind, and certain situations pop out and you pull them out. I mean, I've been doing the same joke about having a 27-inch head for, I don't know, 30 years, probably more than 30 years, and it still works. Um, Something's funny, it's funny, you know. Now, there are certain things, sometimes you come up with something that is very sort of specific to a window of time, but I don't do a lot of that.
Comedy can be, be a tool for either comfort or critique. Where do you think the Canadian comedy scene fits in there right now?
I don't know. Like, I've always had a difficult time when people talk about the Canadian sense of humor or the Canadian sensibility. I don't know what that is. And I feel like I've been in it long enough that if there was such a thing, I should know it by now. Because, comedians are individuals. And I guess, like, if I'm going to paint in any broad stroke, I would say that Canadian comedy, like, culturally, we grew up, our nation developed in between the biggest imperial empire the world has ever seen, right? The British Empire. And just to the south of us, the largest cultural exporter, the biggest cultural behemoth the world has ever known. We're sandwiched in between, and it sort of forced us to be observers for the first century, century and a half of our existence. We sat quietly and we're like, "Ooh, that's weird. That's no good. I don't want to say anything, but that looks dangerous. Why would somebody do that?" And culturally, I think we became a fantastic nation of we developed a skill of being observers. And my mother had a terrific skill that way. My mother was very quietly funny. She was very much sort of a, holy, look at the shirt on this guy. That kind of comedy, you know.
Yeah.
And but really everybody is different, you know. My sensibility is different from Russell Peters' sensibility. Derek Edwards' sensibility is different from Eric Tunney's sensibility. You know, it's at the end of the day, we're all comprised of our experiences and the context in which we grew up.
It's a beautiful way of putting it. And I know I often think of us as like Americans understudy, but you're right. It's like the first time we realized we're like, we don't think we want to be in the play, though. We're good. We know all the lines. And speaking of, your thriller, your novel, was a big departure, I think, to a lot of people who know you from comedy. What was that like for you embarking as a thriller writer? And do you have more plans in the works?
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. I mean, I always knew that I wanted to write a novel. And so I just sat down and started doing it. Once COVID hit and everything sort of shut down, and I had a lot more time on my hands, I thought, and if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So I sat down, not knowing if I'd be able to, but I knew I was going to try. And I really enjoyed the process. And I like to read sort of dark, scary thrillers. That's what I enjoy reading. And I knew that that's what I would probably be writing. And it's about comedy. It's about three comedians on the road, but two of them start to understand that the third one is very dangerous and unhinged. And it sort of springs from, you know, the experience. It's ballooned up, it's magnified, but the experience of being when you're a young comic starting out, you don't get to pick who you work with. The booker will say, okay, there's somebody coming through from Montana. You're going to do 10 days on the road with him through Manitoba and Ontario. And you're like, okay. And usually, like 99 times out of 100, it's fantastic. But every now and then you get paired up with somebody and you get this feeling like the more they talk, the more you realize, oh, we could be in trouble here. This guy might be dangerous. He has some very strange thoughts. And you look out at the Canadian countryside as you're driving thinking, there's a lot of places to hide my body out here. And that feeling of dread, the first time that I had it, I thought, this could make a really good story. And so it sort of just churned and percolated in my head for a lot of years. And when I sat down to write the novel, that's what came out. But yeah, I think you're right. People expected that my first book would be a comedy. And I would always say, well, it's not, but it's about comedy. There just happens to be a lot of dark psychological violence in here. But the response was terrific. It was a #1 national bestseller, and Indigo put it on its list of best books of 2023. So, and a lot of nice reviews from the press. So I kind of thought I might get roasted for being, TV joke boy trying to do something dark and serious. So I thought I might get panned for that, but the response was amazing. So I am writing my next novel now, and it's also a dark psychological thriller.
Oh, so well, I will have to read your first. I haven't read it yet, but I remember when I picked up Steve Martin's book. I'm sorry, Brent.
How dare you. Where's the off button on here?
I'll read it before you come, I promise.
Yeah, we'll have another list of questions just for the book once you get here.
Excellent.
Sort of on that vein of traveling around with these weird comedians, what's the weirdest place you can ever remember performing, and how would that compare to a 1,000-seat outdoor amphitheater here in St. Andrews?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of weird places. It's one of the things that comedians talk about is like that we kind of can't wrap our head around the idea of like where people think comedy would be a good idea. The weirdest show I ever did was actually downtown Toronto. So geographically, it's not a weird situation, but the situation was this. It was a fundraising event, and there were a bunch of people on exercise bicycles, and they were it was like a marathon. They would get the 10 cents a kilometer or whatever, right? So picture like 50 people on exercise bicycles sweating, just working at it. And every time they would get a kilometer, any one of them would get a kilometer, ding, you'd hear a ding. And so there's like, I don't know, 20, 30, I don't know how many there were. And I'm standing up front with this little Hitachi microphone attached to a karaoke machine. And you can't hear me at all. It's just exercise bike, ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, what am I doing? Nobody's even looking at me. That was the weirdest one, but you need the money. You're like, okay, I'm got to be here for half an hour. Let's do this.
Right.
Hey, it beats heavy lifting.
That's true.
You know,
That's
I think you figured you can sleep in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, Brent, for our final question, what are you looking forward to most about getting out to the East Coast, experiencing Charlotte County, New Brunswick, and performing to, I think, over 1,000 of us at an outdoor amphitheater?
I mean, just the experience, that experience alone sounds like it would be something unusual and something different. I've done outdoor shows before, but you don't do them that often. And they're always something new and different. And the East Coast crowds are always a ton of fun. They understand comedy well. So I'm just looking forward to getting out there, being there. Hopefully it won't be inclement. I don't want to have to wear a hat while I'm doing my comedy, dodging lightning strikes. So, but I expect it's just going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to it.
And the good news for you is you have a cover. It's the audience that doesn't. So you will be fine the
you'll be
whole
safe.
time.
Oh, well, then to heck with them. Who cares then? Bring it on.
Well, thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Yes, we can't wait to meet you, and we know it's going to be a great show. So we'll see you in September.
See you then. Nice talking to you.
What a great conversation. I think my sides are still hurting from laughing so much. Brent Butt will be here in St. Andrews this September 12th and 13th for Comedy Fest at KIRA Amphitheatre, and we can't wait to see him live on stage.
Absolutely. And coming up next, we're shifting gears from stand-up to standing ovations for our very own community.
That's right. It's time for milestones and celebrations.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Good Day from the Bay. It's that time in the show when we get to celebrate the people, places, and events that make our community so special. Yes, it is time for milestones and celebrations.
And today, we're marking a milestone that's close to the heart of St. Andrews.
The 10th annual John Flamer Memorial Golf Tournament at Kingsbrae Garden marked a special milestone this year. Played on the private 3-hole course designed by the late John Flamer, the event raises funds for the junior golf program right here in St. Andrews and honors a man remembered for his deep love of the game and his community.
And for the first time, members of the Flamer family took home the win. John and Lucinda Flamer's grandsons, Christopher and Justin Williams.
It's a fitting close to a decade of community, competition, and connection, both on the greens and in the heart of St. Andrews.
Here's our full interview from the tournament.
Tell us a little bit about what it means to win the championship on the 10th anniversary of this special event.
Yeah, it means a lot. I know our grandfather's looking down at us, and it's good for everyone. It's good that the family finally had a competitive team.
Finally,
and we actually played together once before, the first year. And
we're not going to tell you our score.
Yeah, we shot quite a few over, so we were not competitive the last time. So it definitely means a lot that we were able to pull it together this year and take one home.
Yeah, definitely. Super special, and we were telling these guys earlier, it's thanks to our grandfather too that we're even able to be out here, even able to learn how to play the game of golf from such a young age. So to be able to kind of thank him for that 10 years later is awesome.
Tell us a little bit about this golf course and why it's so special. There are many people that don't even know it's here, and what does it mean to your family?
Yeah, no, I mean it's everything to us. Growing up, I mean there's pictures of us when we were this big trying to swing a full-size golf course. This is where we learned how to play the game, and it's more than just a backyard to us. I mean it's how we learned it, and it's to us this is where golf begins and ends, right?
Yeah, likewise, I'll just repeat the same message of that we learned on this course, and we teach our younger family now, and without this course, you wouldn't be playing golf, and so it's pretty unique to win it here. It's a tricky course, and so it helps us for sure that we have been playing since we were yay high.
Home field advantage for sure.
And for people who don't know, explain how this course works. It's 3 holes, but you can play it like a 9. How does that work?
Yeah, well, so the course is 1 green, and so it's 7 holes, but you can play at 9. So 2 holes you play over the green, and you play it as a par 4. So you have to hit over the green first, and then come back on the green. But it's all centered around 1 green in the middle, and so it's definitely you have to play the entire green. You have to play all the fringe and everything around it. So there's a bunker on the backside, and there's a lot of tricks and turns.
And what he's not mentioning too is the reason that we were even in the final is that he actually made one in for 2, so an eagle on one of these par 4s over the water, over the green. So big reason why we're here is thanks to shots like that.
There was also another incredible eagle today. Tell us a little bit about this shot that really is, I think, thankfully we have it on camera, but the winning shot of today.
Yeah, no, so Christopher had a great tee shot just deep of the green, and we contemplated how the putt was going to read for a couple minutes, and I gave one a rip, and if thank God the pin was in and the ball went in, because if not, it would be off the backside of the green, and we'd be having a tough putt.
We'd be in the sand otherwise. So
yeah, so it was good. It was good that it went in. A little bit of luck, and yeah, it was a good line. So yeah,
for sure.
Very happy about it.
Tell us a little bit about what this means in terms of bragging rights in your family, to be the first 2 members of the family to bring home this trophy. That has to go for a lot around the dinner table.
I mean, all I'm going to say is I'm not going to take this off for a while because this speaks more than just the trophy. And then I walk into having dinner now and they see this. No words are even necessary.
Yeah, the family's excited, but a lot of them are definitely wanting to wear this jacket themselves. And so we'll, for the next couple of days, we'll definitely let them know that it's, we have the rights for now.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling this might mean a little more to you than the green jacket at the Masters in Augusta. This has special meaning right here.
Yeah. This is the course I want to play for the rest of my life, and it's where we learned. And like you were saying, it's the beginning and the end of golf for us. So it's very special.
Your family's been a big part of many of our lives here in this town. We're very grateful for all of you who we've gotten to know over the years. What does St. Andrews mean to you when you all seem to come back year after year and really make this a part of your lives?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's like a second home. I mean, we come here and we're able to connect not only with our family, but with the community, and it's such a special place. And it's honestly, it's hard to describe in words like how much St. Andrews, New Brunswick means to us, because for some people it seems like such a small and like maybe obscure place, but for us it's everything. We come here so many times growing up and be able to kind of share that with everyone and then pass it on also to the little ones. It's super special to everybody. Yeah, like Christopher was saying, it's definitely a small town, but every summer we come and it feels bigger and bigger. The community is very accepting and open arms, and so I feel that I meet new people every summer and have brand new experiences with different aspects of the community, and so everyone is just the best here and so accepting, and so it's every summer is a new summer, and it's incredible. We see a lot of familiar faces from town. Why is it so important to you to really be a part of this community? It really does feel like you are woven into the fabric. Definitely. I mean, the community is so accepting in itself, so it's, if the community is going to be so accepting, you might as well participate and join in, and it's such a great place that how can you not, Yeah.
And will you be back next year to defend this championship? And what can we expect in terms of your gameplay?
I don't know if we can expect any better play than we played this year, but we'll be back next year.
We're going to defend for sure.
Yeah, we'll have fun. We'll hit some good shots and hopefully compete again. But you never
I don't know if we'll have as many chip-ins as this year, but we're gonna do it again for sure.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, and what a special year to win.
Thanks so much, Vicki. Thanks.
Yeah.
What a wonderful milestone for the Flamer family and also for golf here in St. Andrews.
Absolutely. 10 years of celebrated community, sport, and the legacy of John Flamer. We'll be right back with more milestones and celebrations after these quick messages. Welcome back to Good Day from the Bay. I'm Jonathan Brittain.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. Our next community milestone takes us over to Minister's Island, where food and opportunity are being served up together.
It's the first summer that the Shiretown Community Players, the same team behind the community lunches here in St. Andrews, are running a program that gives people in Charlotte County facing barriers to employment the chance to gain experience in a professional kitchen.
Yes, that's right. Under the guidance of Chef Helen Ann Smith, who works with the team all year, this initiative is creating both meals and meaningful opportunities.
Here's videographer Christina Washko with that story.
I find it's like a game level. Like level 1, you start off easy, like serving soup and stuff at the parish hall. Then when you pass that level, you upgrade to coming to an island and working on a food truck. So we're on level 2 of this success.
All of the clients that we had at the church are here. We have some new ones here.
I've never really been actually in a food truck at all.
This has been a wonderful experience for them over here this summer. They've learned so many new skills. This is more personal, and they're doing a fabulous job.
And if you sit in the tent, it will serve you. Yeah.
And the fact that the Minister's Island gave us the opportunity to come over here and do this and help with our funding after we lost funding, it's been fabulous. And Minister's Island has just been fabulous to work with.
Food truck has been great for the island. We have people that can now stay and have lunch. The staff all gets fed quite nicely. They go buying lunch there every day. But the tourists do come and they've got families, so the meals are a very reasonable price. They're able to feed 2 or 3 kids as well as themselves. And they do stay quite a bit longer because they can stay and eat and sit around and talk. Yeah, it's a nice atmosphere.
When you're working over here in the food truck, you get to be with different workers that you've never really been around as much, like you haven't known for a while, and get to know them and everything.
I love being in the food truck because like I get to serve people, see them smile, and getting big tips like you didn't do at the soup kitchen. I also love helping people if they don't know what to get, make suggestions for them. The best hit is the lobster roll, people tell me.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yum. Yum, yum. All lobster.
Lemonade. $20.
Excellent.
It's been really good. And we have a little disappointing news. We're losing our main guy.
I got accepted to the school in St. Andrews, and to college in St. Andrews.
But he'll come on Fridays and entertain us, he said. We might be able to even convince the church to let us do a Friday afternoon comedy act or something. I'm not sure. We'll see if we can work him back in. But things are going great over here on the island, and we'll keep in touch.
What an inspiring way to wrap up today's show. Food, opportunity, and community all coming together on Minister's Island.
And probably the only island where you can walk over at low tide and come back full from lunch.
So true. And that's our show for today.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. I'm Jonathan Brittain.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. We'll see you next time on Good Day from the Bay.
Good Day from the Bay is produced through the facilities of CHCO Television with support from people in our region.